Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. We are back with another round of the Post-Apocalyptic Book Club. I'm rather excited. We've got a full house in here already, and there's a possibility of one or two more might join us. So let's go around the Brady Bunch horn here and say hello. How are you, Nate?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
We have had today was t-shirt weather because it was only minus 10 Celsius and the sun was out. So
Yeah, there you go. It's 32 here right now. So
that's not bad. You got snow on the ground?
yeah, we got snow this morning.
Oh, not bad. Hey, Hunter's in the chat. Good to have you, Hunter. And below you, we have our intrepid truck driver, John Palmer. How are you, brother?
Seeing as it's not anywhere near minus 10, I'm doing fabulous because that's, to me, an emergency situation if it gets that cold. So
I should clarify that's minus 10 Celsius, which would only be, I don't know. I'm going to guess high teens, low, maybe 20, Nate, something like that.
It's t-shirt weather, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I keep my house at like between 75 and 80 degrees year round. So, that's about the temperature I'm comfortable at. So,
yeah, no, I was until about 4:00 today. I was in a t-shirt working in and outdoors. And then once that sun kind of gets below or right around the horizon, all of a sudden it gets chilly. So,
yep.
Oh my
and
gosh.
we have the ghost of Rachel Past. I mean, Rachel, how are you, Rachel?
Yeah, we had like 57 degrees today, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, doing way better than the rest of y'all, I think.
Oh, before I forget, I got to give a shout out to John Willis, who just sent me the latest SOE shirt. It says, it's really funny. I could completely change this from Bidenflation to Justinflation, but it says Bidenflation, which is a noun, the rising cost of voting stupid. So I always love getting those shirts from John. And if you guys are looking for it, soeequipment.com, I believe is the URL. So they always have. Yeah. And I just seen Jason come in. He's Texas, Tennessee Shiner on TikTok. Yep. And he designs these shirts and prints them. So thanks again. Good work. Oh, and we lost. John may be in or out tonight, he said. So
I got a wardrobe full of SOE shirts, but I grabbed my Angels Envy shirt today.
Oh, nice. Oh, so what's everybody drinking?
Twisted teas for me.
Nice. How about you, Rachel?
Vodka and a raspberry seltzer.
Oh,
there you go.
Well, I've got my old fashioned. This one's made out of wild turkey. I didn't bring the bottle over, but it's I think the one that is barrel proof, so it's like 60-ish% or something. So
okay. Yeah, I do have my SOE koozie.
Oh yes.
So, and I have my other SOE koozie with our patch.
Oh, nice pat. I like that. We got Renegade Butcher just dropped by. He tried to defend me on TikTok today and had his video banned. So, and my brother-in-law Barrett Bishop is drinking Coke Zero. There's my fellow entrepreneur brother-in-law. So everybody finished. Oh, he's not even home yet. Oh, he's driving and he's on. Anyway, we'll just pretend like, yeah, it's not. One step closer. Good evening. Chuck Peoples. Good to have you. What a crew we got tonight. So everybody finished the book this time?
Yep.
Nice.
I literally just finished my second time through about 15 minutes before we got started.
Oh, Rachel, you're twice in now. Good for you. So are you ahead in the series at all, or are you are you staying at 7 till the next one?
Oh no, I'm trying to stay at the one that we're on. The thing is, when we got done with the last book club, I actually read listened to 7 right away.
Nice.
And I wanted to brush up on it today before we got started.
Well, I finished today. This would be, I think, my third time through the books, and I finished it today about 3:00 in the afternoon. So it was, anyway, I'm going to put this out here, but I believe book 7 is my favorite book other than the first book. I really, really enjoyed book 7 for a lot of reasons. But how about you, Nate?
I would say book 7 is one of the better ones. There's a lot of foreshadowing in it.
Yes.
But it's pretty well put together. There's enough going on. It's definitely well played out. It's not rushed or anything. So it's definitely one of the better ones. It's not not a placeholder. Like what was that, 5 or 4?
I almost want to say 3 and 5.
Yeah.
There was 2 that were kind of like, hey, we're here, we're existing, and the books kind of existed to set up the next shit that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We're adding this many people, and we've got this situation that's changing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, going through, so yes, I should, since I never actually said, in the comments, I seen somebody ask. So tonight, the book we're dealing with is book number 7 from the Going Home book series. This one is Avenging Home. So for those who are following along at home and keeping score, we have now made it through 70% of the original 10 books. Now, here's something else that might make sense when you hear it, but there was talk a long time ago, I went through the Amazon comments, that book 7 was going to be the last book.
Mm-hmm.
And then he, of course, decided to keep going, or he kind of offered it as a jumping off point for people who wanted to stop on the series.
Right. And it's got a good spot.
Short. Does. Go way long.
Yeah, it stops pretty nice at the end of 7.
Yes, it does.
And then,
which is cool. I enjoy. Go ahead, Nate. Sorry.
Yes. It's, if you wanted to stop and not go any further, 7 would be a good place to stop because the DHS is gone. And then they start gone. Yes, they're gone. And it's book 8 will start with dealing with other problems.
Yes. Jason said, I want to bring this up here if I can. Oh, there we go. He said, I like book 11, but 7 is great. Yes, 7 was really good. And Chris Dixon said, I enjoyed this one. It had a nice flow, but not stupid predictable like the last 5. It's starting to get like late season TV series. Oh, Chris says I'm a little bit glitchy. Uh-oh. Or are they? Let's see.
Yeah, it's been in and out a little bit.
So. Okay. Sorry, guys. I wish I could. I don't know. Lately, we've been having some internet issues here. So eventually we're getting a new system in the house, but I got it hardwired. And anyway, we'll see where we end up with that. So Jason says DHS is gone and all the good people are still here.
Yep.
And then Hunter, is the DH really gone? Dun, dun, dun.
Well, they got Tabor.
Yeah. Oh, God. That was good.
Let's pull that right out. That was.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. Yeah. Sorry. There we go.
Yeah, you're glitchy in and out. So
I can see Nate moving, so I'm pretty sure it's not me or him.
Yeah, I think it's Tim might be glitching out a little bit, but yeah, Sarge finds Tabor after they take the camp down, and the way they took Sarge climbed in there and sat next to him underneath a piece of rubble and just snuffed him out was great.
Oh, that was like the most appropriate ending.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So can you hear me okay now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. What I was trying to think back, what in the world? Okay, I know what Tabor came from. Why did Sarge have such a hard on for Tabor? What was the reason that he had to do him so bad at the end? Do you remember?
Because he was a military guy.
Okay.
If I remember. And it was kind of against the military creed to be doing what they're doing.
Fair enough.
So
I was totally fine with it. I was just trying to think. I was like, what happened that Sarge hated Tabor so? I mean, because Sarge kind of, I don't want to say took advantage, but okay, Hunter says broken oath. Yeah. So I can see that. Sure.
Yeah, I didn't hear if they took out Niigata. I don't remember that. If they got him in this book or
there was no mention of Niigata. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rachel.
There was no mention of Niigata in this one, and nobody that matched his description. And some of the guys did actually see what he looked like, so they'd actually be able to recognize him in the piles. Kind of like they were able to identify Billy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, so Billy was the one that was on the chain gang, right?
Yep.
No.
No.
Billy was the one who was trying to defend the guys that wanted to take Morgan's daughters.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's go to the chain gang. So they killed all the DHS, and for those when Sarge killed Buddy there, he basically strangled him, right? He put his hand over his mouth and smothered him to death.
Yep.
And then they go to the family, or they go back to town, and Sarge is like, "Hey, we're going to finish it." And they shot the one collaborator there was 3 of them on the chain. And the one guy was involved with the bombing, right?
Yeah, that's the guy they shot. If I remember.
He's the one that let the bomb off?
He's either the one who built the bomb or he's the one who set it off.
I think he's the one that set it off.
Now, this is the third time I listened to this or read this, but who shot him?
Leanne, I thought.
Which one?
Leanne, I thought it was one of the daughters.
Well, that's what I wondered. I couldn't tell either. So Rachel thought Thad, and Nate
the
thought
guy
Leanne.
that was on the chain gang was shot by Thad.
Okay. Because it was not super clear, because the conversation is, and we went right to the end of the book here, guys. Sorry about that.
It happens.
Yep. That's the way it goes.
So they did catch both of them, the one that built it and the one that set it off.
Okay.
One of them was killed back in somebody's garage or the barn or something.
Yeah, that's the one Leanne shot, if I remember.
Yeah. After Morgan was smacking him in the head with a hammer.
Right. And I remember that. But then I was almost thinking, because it wasn't super clear. I was trying to figure out it, but I guess so. The consensus in the community here says Thad, because Jason and Hunter both said Thad. Rachel said Thad. So okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was trying to figure that out, because I knew it was the daughter. So, which is kind of funny, because the story is bookended with, at the beginning, one of the bombers gets killed, and at the end, the other one gets killed.
Yep. Yeah, Jason's got it right there.
Okay, Leanne shot him after he said he was going to get all his daughters in Mel.
Yep.
Yeah, walked in with the MP5 and boom, right in the head.
There's a lot of unexpected.
That was after they had to pull Morgan off of him.
Well, I'm sure Morgan would have killed him anyway.
Yeah, I thought that was coming. When Leanne shot him, I'm like, ooh.
I'm not really sure if dude was going to survive that anyway. I mean, it's hard to say, but he beat the shit out of his head.
Yeah.
Was he even alive by the time she shot him?
Well, that's what I was wondering, because
he was still breathing, I think.
Yeah.
Because he said something, and I thought Morgan knocked him over, and then they stood him back up, and that's when Leanne shot him.
No, he never left the ground.
Okay.
Because it was funny, because Sarge got so pissed. He's like, I wanted to get more information from him. But then he's like, I would have killed him anyway. So
exactly.
Mm.
And Hunter says, have you ever been peened in the head with a little hammer? Oh, we gotta. Yeah. Anybody getting some feedback now?
It's on Rachel, I think.
Oh, might be on you, Rachel. Can you mute on your end?
Okay.
Hang on. Let's see what happens. We're getting feed. Yeah, there we go. Sure. Just when you're ready to talk, Rachel, just unmute and talk. It all of a sudden started feeding back for a second. I don't know what happened. If she can. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Hunter says that shit hurts so bad. I don't know. Here we are. I don't think I've ever been hit in the head. Well,
I mean, think about it. I'm underneath the car, and if I roll around wrong and knock my head underneath the car, it hurts.
Right. And
I'm not even doing it that hard. So getting hit in the head with a little tiny hammer, that's going to hurt. I don't care who you are.
Well, I had my 10-foot step ladder, and I left my hammer on it. And of course, because I'm stupid, I do this a lot. And I moved the ladder, and of course the hammer come down and hit me on the top of the head. That was just a 4-foot. There was no swing behind it. It basically fell 4 feet from the roof, or from the top of the ladder to the top of my dome, and it split me open enough that Becky had to put a little glue and a Band-Aid on it. So, Jesus, I couldn't imagine. Oh yeah. Hunter says I need to wear a hard hat every day. I really do. So.
Yeah. See, now that I've cut my hair off, I got to be careful underneath, because I'll scalp myself.
My dad's bad for that. Oh my God.
My father-in-law is too, walking underneath cars.
When he's a mechanic. I hit my head on everything anyway, and Becky just calls me an idiot and done for the day, you know? So, yes, we started out the book with another epic Sarge torture session, or at least was attempting to, right? And then was it Leanne? Was that the one that shot, or was it the other one that shot the prisoner?
It was Leanne that shot.
Okay, yep.
The guy in the garage.
Yeah, and then so what I loved about this book was that it jumped there's my daughter Liv. Hey Liv. So it jumped around. There was so much action, but there was still a ton of downtime where people sat around and chatted. And I liked that about it, because after the prisoner, then they went to the attack with Jason Eady, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
do you remember
that was during the girls' night, and everybody was just kind of chilling at the house, and that all went off. And the girls handled themselves pretty well in the house.
Yeah, they did.
3 or 4 people come in through the back door.
What'd you think of that, Rachel? See if she can hear us. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you guys. I'm just trying to stay muted.
No problem.
Yeah, I thought the girls' night thing was really cool. The fact that everybody was just trying to let loose and get a little bit of normalcy back. Because everybody was just getting their pretty dresses on. They were doing makeup. They were doing hair. And, even to the point where they couldn't even recognize Jamie.
Right. Yeah. And
yeah. And, they just had their good old time until everything hit the fan again, as usual.
Because they went and they hid in the bathroom, didn't they, when it happened?
Mary grabbed a little bit and put her in the bathtub and covered her with her body.
Right. And then there was, and then which one? Jamie was the one that ended up doing the hitting, right? Or quite of the heavy shooting?
No, they all did. They all had their pistols on them. Sorry, go ahead, Nate.
And then Jamie got shot too, I think, that night.
Yep. She ruined her pretty dress, which, Nate or Ian was talking about she has to get better so he can see her in her pretty dress again, because he missed it.
Yeah, that was pretty. Oh, hang on, we got a little feedback there. There we are. Okay, yeah, I don't know. I love the two of them. Their interactions, Ian and Jamie. I think they're kind of sweet with one another. The more time they end up spending time together, and you could almost tell that something bad was going to happen, because they were setting it up for such a fun night. Everybody was just kind of going to sit around and I think they were watching movies or something, weren't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, movie night with all the girls. I don't think they said what movie they were watching.
Dirty Dancing.
Ah. Man, Jason's got quite the memory. He says Jamie got shot, Mel, Leanne, and the other 2 smoke dudes coming through the glass door. And then Morgan was pissed, wasn't he? Because his glass door got broken and they had to replace it.
Yeah, I don't think they said what they did to fix it yet. I think that's in book 8.
Right. So we won't. Yeah, because I think. Yeah. All right. We won't talk about that a whole lot. But
Thad said he was going to steal one out of one of the other houses because they should all be pretty much standard.
Yep.
Because they definitely do solve the issue. I remember it happening, but it wasn't in this book, was it?
Yeah, it's in book 8, and it's not how you'd expect it.
Yeah, exactly. So then we jump. Okay, so during that attack, Jason Eady's house, their parents, I can't remember Jason Eady's parents' name, but they ended up, the house burnt down, right?
Yeah, house burned down. The kids got out, but they were still recovering from TB, which I think is what reared its ugly head in this book. That was kind of the main thing everybody was dealing with in 7.
Yeah, they said Tyler was able to push the 2 kids out the window and get them safe, but he didn't have enough strength to save himself, and Brandy didn't have even enough strength to move.
Yep.
Yeah, and the kids, it was kind of neat because I know Morgan said Danny always wanted to have kids, and I kind of wondered, it just seemed like they probably wanted to have kids, but there was something that happened that just didn't allow them to have kids or something. I don't know. They never talk about it, and that's fine. But I thought it was pretty cool how Danny and Bobby just kind of picked right up and looked after Jason Eady so much.
I'm pretty sure they said that. You just said the names, and now I blanked out.
Jason Eady?
No, Danny wanted kids, but his wife didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
know
pretty
if
sure I remember that from it.
This was pretty cool. Hunter says, I think that was a clean way to take care of the health issues. Seemed convenient. So he's not wrong, hey?
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's awful convenient. Just kind of how that played out, because they were for sure positive. Jace was positive or had the antibodies.
Yep.
And Edie was negative, if I remember. But it was still going through town.
Right. Yes, it was. And because that's right, I forgot I was over vacuuming at the 12 unit when I started this book. And I remember that's when Morgan got tested. They put the little, I don't know, whatever it is. And so that was kind of some suspense that was building up throughout the whole book. You're like, oh, is Morgan? I mean, we kind of figured he wasn't going to be positive, but you never really know, right?
Right. I mean, it's kind of played off. When they did that test, I'm like, yeah, he's going to come back negative.
Oh,
if he ain't coughing his brains out now, he's fine.
And then almost immediately after that, Sarge goes and shoots himself a gator.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was great.
So one of my notes I really like the atmosphere of this book, where at times it's just the families existing and going around bartering and interacting with each other. But then at other times it gets really exciting. And it was a really good balance between rebuilding. This was the one where you seen where people were moving away from dying because they didn't have food to rebuilding the world and the economy, or at least their own little personal world. And I really like that. And then the time, they sit around and Sarge was telling them how to take care of the gator.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my favorite part of the whole book was Morgan getting the bear. That was hilarious.
Was that was in this one too, wasn't it?
Yeah. He walked into his house and he was in the kitchen.
Oh no, it wasn't his house. It was one of the empty ones, because he was going over for the trailer so they could move the generator.
I thought it was his old house.
No, it wasn't his old house. It was one of the other houses, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
And he heard something moving around inside. He thought it was a person. And then he slipped in the bear shit.
Yeah, how did he get that on him? I guess it was just in there. The bear had been kind of living in there or something.
The bear pooped in there. He stepped in it, slid in his panic, and managed to shoot the bear anyway.
Can you imagine? Yeah. And they all razzed him pretty good, but I got to tell you, I've had bear before and I like it at the best of at the best of times. I can't imagine how good it would taste at the worst of times. Yeah,
I've never had it.
It's not bad. I think I've had bear roast and bear hamburger before. So, what do we got here? So that was one thing with Chris, or Angry American, is of course, and this is what most authors do, but they ended up, you have to kill some characters at some point, but they're never the big main characters. They're always kind of the fringe characters, right? And it's convenient sometimes. It's like, well, we don't really need Jason Eady's parents, but it would be nice to still have a couple little kids around. So I think that's kind of what happened there. It's like, well, let's get rid of the parents, but we'll keep the kids around so that Danny and Bobby can end up having them, eh?
Right, absolutely.
It adds to the humanity of it.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I might have got rid of the echo on your end, Rachel. If you unmute for a second, we'll see what happened. But I undid the echo cancellation or something. Yeah, I think we're good. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So I had to joke when they were cutting up the gator, and was it Sarge that cut its dick off and threw it at somebody?
Yes, he cut the dick off and threw it in Mike's face.
That's such a Sarge thing to do too.
Yeah.
And then
I laughed my ass off so freaking hard. Of course, I'm also the person who bought the bone at one of the Indian powwows.
Okay.
This bone is actually the physical bone that is in a raccoon dick.
Nice.
I love it.
And I loaned it to certain people to stir their coffee.
There you go.
Do you tell them ahead of time what the bone's from?
Really? You're going to ask me that question?
I kind of figured I knew the answer, but
I got a coyote one sitting out in the field. I could probably go cut out and ship it to somebody.
Do they have a physical bone for their boner?
I have no idea.
I don't know either. If my
I didn't
brother
go digging too far into them.
he shot. Yeah, I try to stay away from coyote junk or animal junk in general if I can help it. But
You're not a genitalia person?
well, I guess it depends.
Only his personal one.
Yes, I've never eaten buffalo oyster or prairie oysters. Let's put it that way. So I gotta say, let's go on. Let's go on to the judge, or Porky, as they like to call him. So another thing I have to say is, book 7. It really feels like Chris turned a corner, and his writing even got better.
Yes.
I don't know what it was, but the writing in general was just a little crisper. I don't know if he got himself an editor or what it was, but it just jumped out at you a little more. It wasn't so repetitive, because I found in some of the earlier books, he really repeated himself a lot, like using the same adjectives, the same words over and over.
Right.
But when Morgan, Dalton, and Sarge meet Porky, how about you, Rachel? Let's start with you. What were your thoughts about Porky?
He was automatically an asshole.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
When he opens his mouth and he's talking about what they might owe him for being able to, do this service and proper compensation. Okay, you're just a pompous jackass.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot he was in this book, and I was wondering when he'd show up. I couldn't remember if it was this one or 8. But I mean, I'm amazed he made it through 7.
I am too, because I think if Dalton had his way all by himself, I think Dalton would. Well, I think any one of them individually would have offed him, but it might have looked bad, right?
Absolutely.
Well, the fact that they already had the pizza party, and he sent his man Albert to go and fetch his pizza for the entire group. And then they decided to bypass the entire line, which pissed everybody off. Well, now everybody sees what kind of person that he is. That is not going to help him at all in the next book.
Yeah.
No, you're correct on that. Hunter said, I didn't really agree with them having their guns taken away. What did you guys think about that?
Me personally, I see where he's coming from, but knowing what's going on and knowing the guy's trying to take the town over, it was the right thing to do.
I agree. I think it was self-preservation on Morgan's part, because you could tell right from day one that there were issues there. Like, and again, a lot of it is plot armor or whatever. And in the end, it ends up being that the protagonist makes the right choices, even though we may not know up front. But yeah, I agree, Hunter. I get it. Because, Morgan's definitely pro-gun, and he didn't like the idea of someone losing their rights not having the gun. So I get it. But I think, I don't know, the guy just rubbed everybody the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was more of an instinctual thing. There's those certain people you come in contact with that there's just something not right. There's just something not anywhere near on the plane you want to deal with.
Yep. And what I was going to say about this, Chris, the author there, some of his earlier characters were almost maybe like his antagonists, the bad guys, were maybe a little cliche or just really stock. But I like, even though this guy was absolutely predictable. He really pissed me off, and I hated the dude right away. So, Chris did a good job with that, I thought.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, now we got some reverb again. What's going on here? Sorry, Rachel. Let's try that and see. There we go. Oh, no, anyway, we're muted. But so I love the interaction with Sarge, especially when, John Palmer's back. Hey, Mr. Palmer.
Hello.
I love the interaction with I don't, what's Porky's real name? Does anybody remember Porky's real name?
Hiram.
Hyatt.
Hiram.
Oh, all right, Hyatt. All right.
Hyatt.
Yeah, he was
It made me think of the hotels.
Right. Yeah. Because he made a big deal over he's like, you probably know me from my namesake of the insurance company, right? It's like, really, dude, you're gonna play that card?
Well, I mean, when
Hyatt Hound, he was a hound, that's for sure.
My biggest issue with the guy is not 5 seconds after he introduces himself to Morgan, it's, what are you going to pay me?
Right. What's in it for me?
Yeah.
And the guy was not a caricature, but he was a representation of the old system, obviously, what would that
reminded me of Boss Hogg.
Yes. I was thinking that's funny you say that, Rachel. That's awesome, because that's who I was picturing in my head. Maybe not Boss's face, but I was picturing this white suit with a cowboy hat and a very overweight dude. That is very good. That was awesome, Rachel. Yeah. Jason said Gold Dollar was a good bad guy as well. Yeah, well, he didn't last very long, did he?
No, that's what, about a paragraph?
Yeah, exactly.
Gold Dollar, the person I thought of on Gold Dollar was that dude Billy on that movie with Gone in 60 Seconds with Nicolas Cage. You remember the black dudes that kept messing with him, and he finally tore up their car with the big rig tow truck?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I used to watch that all the time. I haven't seen that movie in probably 15
I remember
years.
that.
I used to watch that all the time. I do not remember that scene. It's been that freaking long.
Oh, yeah.
Now I feel like I need to go see that movie.
There's something about those early 2000 films. I don't know. They stick with you. That's for sure.
Yeah, I had to make sure that I was specific that it was the one with Nicolas Cage and not the original one.
Oh, I love the original.
I've never seen the original. Is it worth watching?
The original's got like a 45-minute freaking chase scene that with Eleanor. Oh my goodness.
Really?
Yeah, it's on Plus 302 if I remember.
Okay, so Tim and I are in the same boat with this one. We did not know about an original.
I knew there was an original. I just had never seen it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was an original.
I remember when it came out, they made a big deal over it being a remake or whatever, but I've never seen the original, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth watching, but let me just say, when you take Angelina Jolie out of the movie, it loses a lot.
I was gonna say that was the big appeal in that movie for sure. The stick shift scene, that was quite something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So something else that I wrote down that I really enjoyed: the young guy at the power plant that Sarge is always busting his balls.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that? It cracked me up to no end.
Well, he's a student. He's, wet behind the ears, new guy. And Sarge's like, what do you think you're going to figure out here?
I think Sarge is going to have to eat crow on that kid. I think he's going to surprise him.
We'll see.
I can't remember. It was funny because you can tell Sarge doesn't hate the kid, but I liked it because it reminded me of the good-natured ribbing you'd always give like the freshmen in high school or college or whatever. But
and the more that they
go ahead, John.
Yeah, and the more they're shocked by it, and the more that it seems to stammer them, the worse it gets, because it's just got to be that way.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if that still happens today, but I know in high school that if you picked on somebody, the more they reacted, the more the bully came back and picked on them, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's a kid, he's a new guy, Sarge is looking for a professional. He's got a student showing up. I mean, it's like, come on.
Well, Tim, that does depend on the reaction. I did have a kid that thought he was going to be a bully to me. Now, granted, okay, I'm not a big guy. You know, I'm like 5'7.5", 200 pounds. But this kid was like 5'5" and $150, and he thought he was going to pick on me. And at the point that he was like in midair up against the locker, I think is when he figured out he picked on the wrong person. But
reminds me, like in a movie, you get that record scratch for a minute, and you're like, you suppose you're wondering how I ended up in this scenario. Well, let me tell you what happened. I got too big of a mouth,
this kid, he like come up behind me and pushed me, and caused me to drop all my books, and it was one of those years where every class was across campus from each other, so you're carrying more than one class of books at a time, and I hit the ground and bounced up, and I spun around and grabbed him, and I had him up against the lockers over my head before I even knew what was going on. It just, just complete reaction.
You know what? Jason says here, he says, most military guys, including myself or me, he said, if we don't pick on you, we don't like you. And
right on.
That is exactly what I tell every single person at work.
Mm-hmm.
Either I pick on you or you are not worth the time of day to me.
Right.
See, so now I know you understand, Spot.
Yeah. Listen here, John.
And I know I'm a hard ass on the guys at work, but that's because I only want them to do better.
Right.
If I'm not talking to you, I don't want to deal with you.
Ask my son. He'll tell you how much fun I am to work with sometimes. I love him to death, but I bust his balls all the time because I want him to do better, right?
Yeah.
You ever nail his foot to the floor, Tim?
Not on purpose. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
I did.
I don't mean his actual foot. I mean his shoe, of course.
No, I haven't done that, thank God. But I did put a 18 gauge brad nail through my thumb one day. That was fun.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was building some planters to sell them, and they were out of pallet wood. And so, click, 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 and I was holding the wood in place. Don't ever put your hand where the nail could go.
Well, yeah.
And it hit a knot in the wood, and so instead of going straight down, it deflected out straight through my thumb. There's a picture on Facebook somewhere, and so I'm like, hey Becky, check this out. I'm like,
Tim,
you're gonna have to pull it out for me. So yeah,
I've done that with a framing nail one time. I was framing on a house, and I how you nail the boards to the baseboard, and the studs, and I missed the baseboard with the nail, and I got the baseboard with the safety, but the nail come over it, and luckily it didn't it went in and kind of bounced off of the bone and it just went straight through. Jeez, so it just took it just sliced open the side of my thumb all the way across. Like, well, that's not good.
All right, I'll go on a tangent on this one.
Sure, I like stories.
We had a moron at work.
Had. No, anyway, go ahead.
Darwin.
He's drilling holes in shelves, and he's got his hand on top, and the drill coming up from the bottom.
Oh, God.
Go on.
Right through the with a 3/16 drill bit. I'm like, dude, how do you not feel that get hot underneath your hand?
Oh my God.
For the record, we have a Darwin at work.
That's his real name?
That's his name.
Oh my goodness.
Let me tell you, I'm just waiting for him to earn his Darwin Award.
Hunter says, when you run a screw into yourself, don't pull it, unscrew it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no, really?
Yeah, but here's the thing. When Becky and I bought that old 130-year-old house out east years ago, they used newspaper for vapor barrier. And so they put like 8 layers of newspaper up because that's what they did, right? And they put nails through it, and they used ring nails. So you guys know what ring nails? I got those. Yeah. So they go in, but they don't come out. So I always used to hate wearing shoes. So I was working in socks, and I was pulling all this vapor barrier down. And so what would happen is you'd tear the vapor barrier off, and it would come off in chunks, especially around the nail. So you'd have like this 4-inch circle of newspaper with a ring nail in it, and you throw them on the floor. That one landed flat, perfectly up, and it went right up into, the arch of my foot. I stepped on it right into the arch, and I said, Becky, you got to pull it out. And as she pulled it out, all you could hear was pop as it pulled away from yeah. So
yep. I put a nail through my foot before.
Oh, Jason says he had an air hammer chisel slip and go through his hand.
Ooh.
So from there, I gotta say, like, this book was full of everything. It was awesome. But I almost think it had one of the most powerful scenes in it too. After the attack on the DHS, and Morgan is, and remember how they said, no quarter or whatever? Mm-hmm. And Morgan ended up shooting those, I think they were maybe teenagers or 20-something.
Yep.
Teenage girls.
Yeah. So Sarge is talking to Morgan about PTSD and how it basically sticks with you forever. And he said sometimes you get a reprieve when people are shooting at you, but overall, and then they said Sarge had a tear in his eye. I thought that was, man, if it wasn't the most powerful scene in the whole book, or at least in this book and maybe the whole series, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what was worse for Morgan, that or the hatchet to, was it Billy?
Right.
Being up close and personal with that. I don't know what would be worse.
I'm pretty sure that accidentally shooting the girls the same age as his daughters is worse than a hatchet to the head of the guy who tried raping your daughters.
Yeah.
Or reported those guys.
Because didn't Morgan say that he would have taken, I'm pretty sure he said something along the lines of, I would have taken more time with Billy if I could have.
Yeah.
I like that. The whole up close and because it was a hatchet, right? Or like a fighting hatchet that Dalton made for him. That was it was fun. I kind of liked that scene.
It was almost like a town.
Yeah, but the whole.
Go ahead, John.
The whole deal about where he said he didn't done what Sarge did. If he'd have known the real person that Tabor was, he wouldn't have had any more trouble than Sarge had at doing that, snuffing that guy out.
No, that's true. But it was, I enjoyed it was one of the few times where Sarge let his guard down 2 or 3 times in this book. Another one would have been the dancing with Miss K at the end. That was, I was driving today and that came up. I'm like, that made me a little teary. I'm like, that's so sweet. I love their relationship. So Hunter says, Sarge was correct though. In that moment, what do you know? What did you think under the totality of the circumstances? And you're not wrong, Hunter. And Sarge wasn't wrong either. And you have to, I mean, like, and then he says, how would a reasonable person act? And then he said, that's how the cops get off. But you're not wrong though. I mean, Morgan did what he thought was right in the moment. And also, they were in a battlefield at that point. You don't know if they didn't drop their guns, but they were in a live battlefield for whatever reason. But it's still not going to make you feel better. I don't think it would matter what anybody told Morgan. I think it's going to stick with him the rest of his life.
It's not as bad as some of the stuff that some of the guys had to do over in Vietnam. And I've got some pretty close friends that was in some situations like, one of my friends that I've known for good Lord 20 years, he was a crew chief on a helicopter, which for those that don't know, the crew chief is the guy that the helicopter is assigned to. And when they would go out when they would be assigned to missions, they would be assigned pilots, co-pilots, and door gunners. And the door gunners was the guy that was in charge of the weapons. And the crew chief would serve as the other door gunner on the other side during a mission. But he also had to be able to fly the chopper and all that stuff, because the way it worked was whatever you worked on, you flew, or you had to fly. Well, he talked about like some of the stuff that they would do where would be, they would have women try to run up to the helicopters with babies in their hands and trying to hand them to them, and they would have them booby trapped to blow the chopper out of the sky. So basically it was a standing rule. A woman was running up to you or anything like that, you just shot her. before she could get close enough to do the chopper harm. And you might have how many guys in that chopper with you? I mean, they could take out a lot of guys that way.
Mm-hmm.
I remember American Sniper. Is that the film that Clint Eastwood did based on the guy that ended up dying or taking his life or whatever? And there was 2 or 3 scenarios in that. I think he was in Iraq at the time or Afghanistan. And was it a kid or a teenager? Or I can't remember what it was, but 2 or 3 times where he had to make the decision whether to pull the trigger or not. And I couldn't imagine. I just wanted to bring up this comment here from Jason. He said he met Dalton, and by Dalton he means the guy, I assume, that was based on the character, in a tactical response class, and he legit carries a tomahawk that he made in his kit, which is really cool. Jason, yeah. And if I remember correctly, it was Alan Kay that Chris said that Dalton was based off of, the guy that won the first season of Alone. I guess they're really good friends and they've written a book together, but that's pretty cool. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I do gotta say that does make me want to get out my tomahawks and practice throwing.
Tomahawk? Well, I mean, that's what Morgan did. He hacked the guy up.
Yeah. Well, I've actually I had done some research on that, and some guys that do that, and that's all they do is like throw sharp objects and stuff, and learn the tricks behind how to throw those accurately and stick them and stuff. And man, I tell you what, you could put a lot of power throwing a knife or something like that, a lot more than what you can stabbing somebody by, you get back 5 or 10 feet and throw it at them. You stick that right through a piece of plywood.
Well,
I mean, even a knife or whatever. I mean,
what is it? The 21-foot rule, that if you're within 21 feet, you're going to get somebody with a knife before they get you with a gun. Is that what it is?
You're going to get stabbed if they're within 21 feet.
Right.
Yeah, supposedly they can run up to you and stab you before you can draw your gun and shoot them, and within 21 feet. But I can tell you right now, if I'm 21 feet from somebody and I think I need to take them out, I can throw a knife and put it right through their chest before they can ever think about drawing a gun.
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah. And I think at tactical response, that's one, well, I wouldn't want to say the main reason, but one of the reasons that, when they teach you how to draw, the first thing they tell you is to get off your spot, to move, right?
Right.
So
right.
Whether it's a step or 2 steps to one side or the other, because that's exactly it. Because all of a sudden you're a moving target instead of a stationary target. And it's whether you're going backwards or sideways, you're creating space between you and the enemy. Oh, we got the Filipino nomad in here this evening. How are you, Mike? Good to have you.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
And Hunter says he loves the blacksmithing. Dalton is a crazy, odd, weird kind of Viking character, but the blacksmithing is really cool, but it's really funny too, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And he built his own forge out of a bunch of shit he found.
Yeah.
It was,
right?
Was it a wheelbarrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it? It
was a wheelbarrow with the wheels taken off and the handles taken off. He said it was one of those shallow ones that seemed like, why would you even bother using it? Because he could move more with a 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. I missed that part somehow. Jason says about attack response, he says, take advanced fighting pistol, you'll see the 21 rule in effect. 21-foot rule in effect. So that'll be, I think I'm going to take the fight and the first aid one next, but after that, I'll take advanced pistol. That'll be fun. And Hunter said falling down in a gunfight is totally acceptable. Not wrong.
As long as you're not leaking.
Right, yes.
If you leak, you lose.
Well, if you leak too much, that's for sure. Your hydraulic shuts down, right? So what about the no quarter thing? It reminded me of some of the old Civil War movies or the Viking films where they went around and eradicated the battlefield. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Go ahead, Nate.
It's being real on the situation.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a reason why people do that. And out of reality, in this scenario, there's not enough to go around to keep these people alive to throw them through a trial. And if you throw them through a trial, you're just going to end up killing them anyway.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And in a scenario like that, they had some medical care, but I mean, I don't want to be a dick, but do you want to waste valuable resources on these people who, number one, are probably going to die anyway, and number two, were the enemy?
Yeah,
First
exactly.
of all, it's a battlefield. How many of them would even make it to medical care?
Right.
It's really the humane thing to do, to just not let them suffer when they're already sitting there bleeding out.
Absolutely.
So the other side of that, what do you do with the ones they took captive?
That's tough. So
Absolutely
John,
would not be able to stay in a community where those people were allowed to stay, because then you end up with the same situation like over there in the Middle East, where, you know, we were over there in Afghanistan for 20 years. There were children of guys that were people that were killed that grew up to hate us and grew up to fight against us because of it. And you got people like that growing up and living right in amongst you. That's asking for trouble. And I'm not saying this, you know, like just take them out and kill them just to get rid of them or whatever, but I'm just, there has to be another answer besides just letting them live all in with you.
Relocate them?
Something.
Yeah, the only solution I could come up with is relocate them. You hate the people in this community because they killed your fathers, your brothers, your husbands,
right?
You know, whoever in your family. You hate them. You despise them. Everything about you is about wanting them to die. Okay, these are the people that need to be relocated out to some place where they don't hate everybody and everything they're about. Then maybe they can actually have a chance at starting over.
Maybe they could be rehabilitated to some extent.
Go ahead, Nate.
Let me throw a wrench in it. They were already relocated once.
These guys?
What do you mean they were relocated once?
Yeah, you're not wrong. Right. They were with, or at least affiliated with, the DHS, who were basically taken away from anyway, weren't they?
Yeah.
Would that fall into the Stockholm syndrome if they were already affiliated with the DHS and part of their? Well, no. Actually, the people that were on the buses for the DHS were really just their family and their associates.
Right.
No, it was actual DHS. It was Taver and Niagara.
Yeah.
All those guys were on the bus.
That's why I'm saying it was everybody that was being relocated was actual DHS and their families and their cronies. Well, not even their families, just the people that were actually like doing the military work.
So what I took the families, the people that they took captive, I thought were part of Billy's people.
That's what Jason just said.
Okay. Yeah. I see it.
But still at that, you know, they relocated of their own, you know, power and
they
their
chose
own
who they wanted to be with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was their decision, you know, so, and to be caught up in all that, you know, it's like, okay, you know, we're not going to kill you, but we can't keep you here, so you have to go somewhere else.
So we're talking about the people that were already nomadic.
Yeah.
So do we think they were some of the people that may have left the DHS camp to begin with, do you think? When they
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, so, I don't know.
Yeah, but the thing was, do you remember when Morgan and everybody had to leave their community and they went to the camp and they stayed at the campground or whatever, and those teenagers or 20-something college students broke in and tried to steal, was it their pig or their chickens or something?
Yeah, the hogs.
Yeah.
In this one, they killed one of the hogs that was pregnant.
Yep.
But if you go back further to, remember it was that
3.
Yeah. The old guy there that Morgan kind of took a liking to, it was his son.
Yeah, that was when they found the guy that was hanging in the tree.
Yeah. So they relocated those guys, right? They took them way out into the woods. And I would say that probably would be the only solution you have with these women and children at this point, because.
But the problem is you can't really do that with the women and children, because maybe they just can't take care of themselves.
Right.
At all. But you could relocate them somewhere to some other community or something.
to a
I
city.
don't know. Do you owe them anything? What do you think, Nate?
I mean, I don't think you owe them shit.
I agree.
They're affiliated with the people that try to take your entire group down. And Morgan has already dealt with trying to relocate somebody before, and that entire crew coming back. So looking at that, I would say not relocate them. And I mean, Hunter's got a good one up there, work him in the field.
That's okay.
So
this one here,
yep.
Slaves.
Yeah, I mean,
but when you're talking about women and children, they might not have had, especially children, they might not have had a choice. I mean, because what is their choice besides just going along with what, their man or the people that are taking care of them have told them if they can't survive on their own?
I think you give them a little supplies and tell them to head on. Maybe, I don't know. That's what they did at the camp when they liberated the DHS camp, and they said, "Hey,
right,
you're free." But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I that's what I love about this series is there's so many scenarios that play out that you're like, I don't really know what I would do. I think I want to know what I would do, but I don't really know for sure.
It's case by case.
Children are really easy to rehabilitate.
Oh, sure. But if you have their parent and mother with them, that's a whole other scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
So just kill all the women and keep all the kids.
But I mean, it would have been just as simple, or not simple, but it would have been just as plausible that if they were in that, whatever the last holdout building was, when Mike or Ted dropped the thermite grenade in there. I mean, if they'd have come running out the front door, if those women and children were in there instead of somewhere else, they would have been dispatched at that point, right? Mm-hmm. So it's tough. I don't know. I like that there was no simple answer to that for sure.
Yeah. I gotta say, I do love that word dispatch to describe that, because for those who don't know, there's kind of a not a great relationship a lot of times between drivers and dispatchers. So
fair enough. Yep, I get that.
That was more than a few drivers and more than a few dispatchers.
Jason says that Chris never really addressed this in any of the other books. He mentions they're held at the courthouse or whatever, but never after that. Huh. I never thought about, I guess.
Yeah. I remember that there was talk of them being moved out, but they didn't have an answer for where to take them.
You know what? Jason's not wrong here either. He says, I think at this point in the series, if they're still alive, they can take care of themselves.
Yep.
He's not wrong. Yeah. And Hunter says, is it cheaper to transport them or to burn them? Oh, dear.
Gas is expensive.
Yeah, gas is expensive, right? So, what else did I have here? Yeah, about Sarge smothering Tabor. We talked about that a little bit. When they went to, I thought this was cool. This whole story, this end of it, was about rebuilding society. And remember when they went to the market and they had a conversation with the soap lady? And Morgan's like, was it 2 quarters for 4 bars of soap or whatever it was? And she says, well, a month ago or 2 months ago, I couldn't have eaten silver. I mean, technically you still can't, but now she can trade it. And I like that. In this book, everything turned a corner, because do you remember Morgan said something along the lines of I don't want to say the homeless people, but the people they'd seen walking on the road. He said they're walking with more of a purpose now. They didn't look like death incarnate.
Right.
And I like that. Do you remember that conversation with the lady?
Yeah, it was nice because she knew exactly what they were.
Right.
And I would say the general public would not know what those are if somebody handed them to them. Like I know what to look for. You look at the year, it's if it's 64 and under, it's silver.
Right.
Some 65s.
Some, yeah, but I mean, it's 64 and under is the given number.
Same thing in Canada too, which is really funny. I'd like to know why they basically though say within a year or two we both switched from silver to, now ours was 80%. Your guys' was 95 up until then, wasn't it?
I don't
Silver,
know.
I think it was,
Something
but anyway.
like that.
Yeah.
The only piece of silver I have is this one right here.
Oh, hey, yeah, that's
At least the legit coins. I have your silver and I have Lots Project silver, but real coins. That's the only one I have.
that's a maple leaf, isn't it?
Exactly. That's a maple leaf from your neck of the woods, and I think it came from
Way
you.
up here. Yeah.
Nope.
So I'd forgotten about this, but when I was reading through the comments on Amazon, somebody said, "Do you remember the new guy hanging out at the police station?"
Micah.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of talk. It was about the same time that there was just the slightest little inference that they were wondering why everybody trusted Dalton so well as well. Remember, they just a little bit of, I don't know what you want to call it, put in the derision or whatever. But we didn't get any confirmation one way or the other with that Micah guy, did we?
I don't remember. I remember the name, but I don't remember a lot about him.
Do you remember, Rachel, anything?
He was the one he showed up there and he was super anxious to be involved in everything. And he was super anxious to help with everything and wanted to know everything that was going on. And they were all basically lying to him.
Okay, I couldn't even remember that much because there was definitely a time in the narrative where they made a big deal about this guy. Like, hey, he's hanging out. Why is he hanging out? So hopefully there's a payoff. And Jason kind of says it's the next book. So we'll leave it there because Rachel, you haven't gone any further, have you?
Nope.
No. Okay. So we won't ruin that.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit that goes on in the next book.
Yeah, it's crazy. And
all right, I'm listening to the next book probably tomorrow then. So
so you haven't gone any further either, John.
No, I haven't yet. I did last time, and I got so confused. If you remember, I couldn't remember like where the book we were on stopped and where the next one went on. So I was like, this time I'm not going through that. So
I'm gonna stick with it. That's okay. Nothing wrong. Now let's talk NATO like this one. What about those one-time codes, Nate?
Okay, so this is now I get to go off of my little tangent. All right,
okay, here we go.
And Take it for a second, Nate. I'll be right back. Okay.
Yeah, and this is shortwave radio. This is not, ham radio, but the Radio Redow and listening to Chris's initial interview, Chris said a lot of the frequencies were in the UHF and VHF. That's the radio that Morgan carried with him all the time. And then all of a sudden you have the Radio Redow come up, and that is, he says it wrong. It's 6,900 megahertz, and it's actually 6,900 kilohertz, which is just below the 40-meter ham radio band where all the pirate radio stations are. So that was kind of nice to see that. And he was pretty close on the frequencies, but it was like 6980 or something. And that's like smack dab in the middle of all the pirate radio. That was kind of cool to see that happen. But what was it? I see, Hunter, how far does that wave go? It depends on how much power you're pushing. I mean, so really.
Does that mean if you're talking about this, we don't need to do shots because it's not technically ham?
No, this is shortwave. But it's the couple frequencies that are right below the ham radio bands, the 6,900, kind of the 6,900 kilohertz. If you're running, say, 500 to 1,000 watts, you have no problem getting across the country if you got the right antenna. So if they're up in the Pacific Northwest and they have the right antenna to beam it across the country, everybody in the country is going to hear it.
Well, so like them, if they're like up in the mountains, wouldn't that help too?
Yeah, if I remember, they said they're up in Idaho.
Yeah, which is like mountains.
Yeah, and I have zero issues here in Idaho on 40 meters. if you throw any kind of power behind that, you're talking within 100 kilohertz of the ham radio bands.
So
I'm doing a shot for your nerdness anyway.
Yep.
The name was Radio Redoubt. Is that right?
Yeah, it's Radio Redoubt, if I remember.
Do you know what does that mean anything? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
Okay, I never looked it up. I was curious because it sounds like a French word, but I don't know if it is. I don't know, because there is a couple of times they mention Quebec or something, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Or somewhere along. And what about the decryption? Does anybody know anything about
so the net that they're talking about, that Amron net, is an actual net. I'm trying to remember who runs it, but it's usually on the 40 meter band. It's AMRON or AMROM.
Okay.
And I think I want to say it's affiliated with AR15.com, the old message board.
Okay.
I know they have their own website, but I think it might have started on AR15.
And at this point, any communications they would do would be out in the open. There'd be no encryption. But if shit hits the fan, they're probably set up at this point for some sort of open air encryption.
Yeah, you would think so. Now, me being a ham radio guy, and I'm going to mention this. There is one word that popped up when Cecil asked Sarge if he's an Elmer.
Okay.
That's not what that means.
Right,
so an Elmer is kind
like
of the
mentor,
guy that
right?
takes you through the ropes.
Yeah, he's a mentor, takes you under his wing, right? Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And that's I don't know where that came from. I don't see how that fits in that net. So that
unless they, I don't know. Yeah, that makes sense. So these one-time use pads or whatever, how would somebody like Cecil have those, but the guys that are bad wouldn't have them? What how does that work?
You were part of the net before all this shit went down, and you got the information.
Going to meetups. That's what he was talking about. He said that he went to meetups and picked those up.
Yep.
Jason said you're a nerd, just so you know, Nate. So,
that's fine. I have no problem admitting I'm a nerd.
I know. And then he comes up and he says, I'm a huge fail in my preps. He said, but the nerd stuff goes right over my head.
Yeah.
And I get it, because it can be tricky for sure.
Yeah. And all right, so I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. The wife is not watching.
Okay.
Because this is a book one.
Oh, right.
But she let me buy an 800 watt amp a couple days ago. So
nice.
I'm going to be playing with that pretty soon.
Okay, we got Jeremy Urick. Is that it? Says, anyone following Q? Does anybody know what that means?
Nope.
No. Okay. That's all right. Jeremy, if you're still in here and you want to clarify, we didn't catch what that meant, or maybe I don't know.
I kind of know what it is. It's the QAnon stuff, and I don't follow that.
Oh, I was thinking, anybody a Star Trek fan out there? If Kerry Brown was in here, he'd appreciate it. But there was the big character named Q in there. So, John.
For a moment there, I was going to ask Nate if he was doing the. Please to explain at the Trekkie convention why you use this term instead of that term when he was talking about the Elmer.
Yeah. Excuse me, Mr. Weatherman. I'm just wondering if you could explain why in book 7 you used the term Elmer when it really should have been Ham.
Yeah.
Reminds me of comic book dude.
Unless he was asking in the terms of, are you an Elmer that you have these people that are working under you on it?
And that's how I was going with.
See, that seems to be what would, now that I know what an Elmer is, that seems to be how I would interpret the way he said it. Because he just said, are you an Elmer? As in, that could easily be interpreted as, are you instructing on this?
So, I could see that a little bit. But I took it as it was kind of a slang for the person meeting in that net or that club or whatever that had the information. Because if I remember, Sarge had the information too.
He probably did.
Which meant he was probably more of an instructor type.
Yeah. I mean, it's
so. We got a little information here. Oh, go ahead, Rachel.
I said, "Give me that one, Nate."
I'll give it to you.
So Hunter put up the Wikipedia article for American Redoubt or whatever.
Okay.
So for those who are on audio, it's spelled Redoubt, Redoubt. And so Jason just put up Radio Free Redoubt is mentioned in several other book series that's not related to this series. And they are located in Idaho in the other books. So I think they're real. Huh. Now this is a rabbit hole we need to go down. Maybe we'll do an episode on this, Nate.
Yeah, I'll have to go research it. I know Wolverine Radio I can hear pretty good here every once in a while when they pop up. They're somewhere in the 6900s as well. I'll see if I can get some recordings. Drop them in the Telegram group.
Yeah. Hunter says Redoubt. So he copied this out of the encyclopedia or dictionary online. Redoubt. Noun redoubt, a small, usually temporary enclosed defensive work, a defended position, a protective barrier, or a secure retreat / stronghold. I think pretty much all of those combinations kind of fit what they're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
And Hunter has it exactly. That Elmer.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
So Hunter says, in the amateur radio realm, Elmers hold a high place of esteem. The word means an experienced operator who takes a novice under his or her wing, providing personal guidance and answers to the thousands of questions that confront the newbie. It can be used as a verb, as in Elmering an aspiring operator is a cherished tradition that goes back to the early days of the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't have an Elmer. You know, a lot of this stuff I'm learning on my own, but I'm my wife's Elmer.
Right.
So I'm teaching her how to do this stuff.
And once I get back on the go here, you'll be my Elmer. So
yeah, I'll help anybody. Because
it's I don't know, in this day and age, it's a little bit harder to find someone unless you live in a big center. I don't know. Where I live, it's not even an option without traveling. Yeah. So,
and this little sheet right here says I get to give ham radio or amateur radio tests.
I know. I wish you could test Canadians. That would make my life a lot easier. But anyway, that's a whole nother story.
Nate, does that mean you're a FUD?
Elmer FUD. So, what about the incendiary? Oh my God, incendiary grenade. That was kind of fun. Do you guys remember? Was it Mike or Ted who went on the roof? Does anybody remember?
Both, I think.
But okay.
I thought both went up there.
Did they? Maybe.
No, it was just Mike.
Okay.
Mr. Blow shit up.
And Jason says he's a moonshine Elmer. I appreciate that. That's really cool. And he is. He very passionate and loves to share his knowledge with everyone.
Hey, I see Hunter's asking a question on if we can test.
Yeah.
Hunter, if you're ready to take a test, I will get you in touch with the correct people. So cool. Shoot me an email. You okay if I share mine, Tim?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Shoot me an email at info@twochickshomestead.com. And twochickshomestead.com. Yeah, that's it.
Are you able to test online now, Nate?
Yeah, I am actually part of a Discord.
Okay.
And I can get you in touch. They're always running stuff. I mean, it will take. You jump in there, you start talking to people. Yep, that's it. Shoot me an email at that, and then I'll get you in touch with everybody. But yeah, it's all done online. It's actually the Ham Radio Crash Course Discord.
Oh, okay.
He's a YouTuber, and if you're in his Discord, there's one in there that has testing questions. If you go to that, that'll have all.
I'm going to mute you, John, just so you know. We got a little feedback coming up there. There we go. Anyway, go ahead, Nate.
If you jump in that testing questions thing, or like that testing questions room, and talk to a couple guys in there, just say you're ready to test, they'll get you set up.
Jason says, Nate, that you should get with Nicole and hold a test at Camden during Self-Reliance Festival.
I need 3 people that are extras.
In order to test, or do they need
I need 3 people that are extra class licensed.
Yep.
And I will consider doing that.
Well, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna hang on here. Let's just see if. Okay, I unmuted you, John. There's just a little bit of feedback on your end. I don't know what it is. If you're able to mute on your end, go ahead. But it's not horrible now.
Sorry about that. I thought I muted myself a while ago.
No, that's okay. No problem. Nate's always extra. That's the word that the Gen Zs love. You're extra.
Yep, I am amateur extra. My wife's a technician, but hopefully she'll have her general by the end of this month.
Ooh.
So.
What about the pizza party? What'd you guys think of the pizza party?
That was nice.
Idea ever.
It was cool, wasn't it, Rachel?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a great slap in the face to Porky.
Oh,
I mean, that started when Morgan saw Porky stumping in town.
Right.
And like 5 minutes later, Morgan comes up with this idea to throw this big ass party with pizza.
I never thought of that. That's really, so it was a slap in his face a little bit too. And, getting some brownie points with the local community, right?
Yeah.
Technically,
exactly.
It was on 2 different visits, but because the first time he came in, he was on his way out of town when he dealt with Porky. And that was when they took the guns and told Shane to lock him up. And the next time he came into town and thought about that was after the whole shooting out at the Elks Lodge. After they took down the DHS, that was when they decided to do the pizza party.
Right, because they were all kind of stressed out and everything too.
Right.
But I have no doubt you're right, Nate, as far as wanting to stick it to Porky a little bit, because
that's how I saw it, because it was like the next paragraph was Morgan working on this idea after Porky was out there talking shit about him.
And what I loved was that you can tell Porky is not used to being talked down to.
Oh, yeah.
He's not used to being the low guy on the totem pole, and it really pisses him off.
Yep.
And I don't quite understand why his men worship the ground he walks on. Like, what's he paying them with? Or how is he, you think that's what it is? Yeah. Nate did the money sign just for those on. But it must be, because, I mean, they just, they follow him around like a lost little puppy dog.
I mean, it's all right. So the way I look at it is, you're roughly 6 to 8 months into this, maybe a year.
Yeah, getting there. Yep.
And you have a fat ass like Porky, who is probably every bit of 450 pounds.
It reads that way, or pretty damn close. I mean, he sits around fanning himself. He's a big dude, no matter how he slices it.
So, I mean, obviously he's got the money, he's got the food.
Good point. Yep.
So
I loved when Porky said, well, I forget exactly how it went, but along the lines of, there's value in predicting bad events and having insurance against it. And then Morgan's like, well, you didn't see this coming. He said, nobody would see this coming. And Morgan's like, well, I did.
Yeah. Yeah. So real quick, Jason, on this one, I need 3 that are accredited VEs. I can't just have like 3 extras show up. I got to have 3 accredited extra VEs.
What does VE mean for?
Volunteer examiner.
Okay. Now, is extra the top of the line or no?
Amateur extra.
Okay. So you need to be 1, and you need 2 more, or do you need 3 more?
I would need 2 more.
Okay.
I know somebody who is moving down to Tennessee in February, kind of to the SRF area.
Okay.
So if we go down there, I might be able to talk him to come, because he's actually our VEC up here.
Oh, okay.
So it would maybe be 1 more, and he's already got all the stuff.
Be a nice little community down there eventually.
Yeah. Well, I got to get him in touch with Carrie, because he's buying some property down there.
Oh, okay. Hunter says rest and relaxation after battle is necessary. What I loved about this book was, all the books that came before it, other than book 1, you always felt like you were leading up to something to happen, and then the rug gets pulled out from under you. You never quite get resolution, And with this one, I felt like you got everything. You got the lead up, you got the conflict, and then you got the after conflict as well. And it was all within that book.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first time they took down the DHS, they thought they got it all. It wasn't until the next book or so that they found out that they didn't. So that was a resolution that they had there, minus the where's everybody going to go?
Mm-hmm.
Which is true. Absolutely. It just, like I said, with this one, you really went the full gamut. Like we got the attack too, which a lot of times he was setting up, book, like, was it book 3 was setting up the attack on the DHS, and then book 4 was the attack itself. Mm-hmm. But in this, you got all of it. And I appreciated that. It was nice. And I guess maybe that's why people said they thought this, because there was some talk, like I said, that this, I don't know, did I mention this before live, or did we actually mention it on here about there was a chance this might have been the final book? Or
I think it was here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, pretty sure it was during.
Yeah. Jason says, and I like this quote. He said, "I defer to Mr. Hound." Then Sarge says to the guy, "Do you defer your food to him as well?" Because I think that's kind of what it looked like,
I believe that was the exact quote.
That's right. So we're still having this ongoing conversation about ham radio here too, guys. And yes, Evan from Radio Made Easy will be at SRF, and I guarantee he has to have all of that and then some, I'm thinking.
Yeah. I mean, if those guys are already down there, then if you need an extra one, we'll see what
that'd be
what
awesome.
we're planning.
Yes. So, do a little ham radio demonstration,
Well, I had my radio down at the last SRF.
Okay.
Well, the one I was at in June, we were set up in the back. And then there's another guy set up there as well.
Hunter says he bought a course. He'll have to find it.
YouTube.
Yeah. And you guys aren't going to Living Free in Tennessee this year, Nate?
No, we're going to sit this one out. We actually found a weekend homestead thing, like a workshop up in Michigan.
Oh, nice.
We can take the kids to.
Oh, that'll be good.
So we're going to go camp for the weekend, a couple days with them, and plan on that. And then we're also talking about heading up north a little bit too.
Oh, like north?
Not north of the border, but north.
Okay.
So
eventually, when everything is completely open and everything, you guys will have to come north. That would be really nice.
Yeah. And we got to get you to stop by here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't worry. It's coming. So unofficially, I mean, all I can say at the moment is that I'm going to be in Tennessee in April, but I can't say any more than that at this point. But yeah, so you read into that what you will. But yeah, it's coming up here right away. This year's flying. Well, anyway, now that this year's here. So, we've been almost an hour and a half. Let me pull.
He's making the year fly by before it ever starts.
Well, it's funny how everything. Anyway, and yeah, just all of a sudden you realize it's 2023 and all this shit's coming up right away. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like it didn't seem like it before Christmas, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay. So I grabbed a few 1-star and 3-star reviews off of Goodreads and Amazon. So this is always fun at the, we really like that. So here's the first one. This was, I only had 2 1-star reviews. I was terribly disappointed in Avenging Home. The first 2 books in the series were very good. Unfortunately, it went downhill from there. The grammatical errors are glaring, the speech stilted, and the characters one-dimensional. From the overuse of shouted and barked, is Sarge a dog, to the ridiculously wasteful trips to town, and the constant descriptions of their meal. Reading the book became a chore. 1 star. Go ahead, Nate.
Had I not read this book, I would not be doing half the shit that I'm doing right now. And ham radio is one of them.
That's cool. I never even thought about that. Yeah.
I mean, it's you. I needed something different, and I was always doing, news radio and stuff.
Yeah.
I switched over to Jack, and then I'm like, well, I need some audiobooks. I'm getting tired of doing podcasts.
Yeah.
So I listened to a couple of Jack. We got the ball rolling here, and then I listened to this book, and it's like, Oh, fuck. I got some problems.
That's true. This was my second, I think this was my second foray into like these longer series, but this was the one that really jumped out, and I'm like, shit, there's so much you can learn from it.
I mean, it's funny. I'll talk to Erin, and she'll hit the part in the book where I mentioned that to her a year ago.
See, that's cool.
So, because I'm like a year ahead on reading these books, and I'll go, okay, we need to look into this. We need to look into this. We need to look into this. And I told her I wanted like a beater diesel Suburban or pickup truck or something from the 80s. And she's like, the hell do you want that? And she hit that point in the book. She's like, now I get it.
Now I understand. See, and that's the power of good fiction. Other than it entertains you, but it changes you, and it opens sometimes the entertainment value opens you up into things and makes you more, I don't like the word susceptible, but it makes you more open to the idea of some of this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Jason says he's pretty sure the person who commented was named Karen. I don't think you're wrong, right?
Yeah.
And so Jason also says 1 second after is the book that got me to prepping. This book series has made my preps expand. So 1 second after was probably the first book I read, but it was before there was a series attached to it. It was just the one book.
Right. And I did the Going Home, and then 1 second after, and then Zombieland. Or Zombie Rules.
Okay. And I know we've talked about it. You read some of 299 Days, didn't you?
Yeah, I only got... I started off with that, but I lost my audiobooks, and I wasn't going to go back and rebuy them.
Fair enough.
So I got 5... Just started the 5th one.
It's a good series. I enjoy the series. It's a little more, I think anyway, I would say that this series, the Going Home series, is very secular. There's almost zero kind of, spiritual or esoteric type stuff in it. Whereas 299 Days would be, I wouldn't say the antithesis of it, but there's quite a bit of, if it's not God in general, it's very like the voice in your head or the voice of God kind of speaking to him. It's a little strange, but whatever. It's still, it's a good series. I've yet to go back and re-listen to the whole thing, So Hunter says God and Country. That's about the extent of it, right? Oh, hey, we got Red Flyer Media in here. Said I popped in to listen as I was driving home. You all get me curious. What series is this? So it is called the original book was Going Home. We refer to it as the Going Home series, although technically it's actually called the Survivalist series.
Right.
And there's 11 books in it right now, Red Flyer. The first one is Going Home. If you start with Going Home and then come and talk to us, we'll get you going on all the other books. But that's the one. And it's basically an EMP series where all of the electronics stopped working. The protagonist was
250 miles.
150 miles from home. 250 miles, from home, and had to work his way back. So walk home basically, and not just walk home, but circumnavigate a whole bunch of some really bad situations, right? So, who'd we lose? Oh, we lost Rachel. And Hunter said it worked well enough in 299 days. It's nothing wrong with it, just personal preference. It's like some people love John Wesley Rawls' book. And to me, it reads like an Amazon shopping list. It's okay. Some of us like things and some of us don't. So
and that's about the pace he went, 10 miles a day.
Yeah. And that
was about 30 days.
Yep. He did well, obviously it's fiction, but okay, here's the next one. I had to laugh at this one. I don't think I've ever. So typically when you read book reviews, it's on the content of the book, not the physical book itself. So this is really good. The story is fine, but the book is falling apart. The pages are not binded. They just fall out. Has made it very difficult to read because I'm trying to hold the book together while reading it. 1-star review.
Oh my goodness.
I'm thinking, just send it back and get a new one. I just
audiobook. Audiobook.
Yeah, I've never had a page pull out of my Audible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just have ads.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah,
Was the reviewer's name Maureen? I mean, I'm just wondering.
I don't have that. Yeah, they didn't. I didn't bother with it, but I had to, that was good.
Melt some crayons back together. It'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next one, final book in the series. Well, that's what they thought at the time, right? But final book in the series. Excellent series if you're into this sort of writing. The author could have refrained from having the characters curse so much. It's unfortunate in today's society that everyone has to use F-bombs and foul language to express oneself. If not had been for the language throughout the entire series, I would have given it more stars, like 5. It is written in a very, this is the best line in the whole thing. It is written in a very realistic manner, unlike other survival novels I've read. So, in one instance, you say it's written in a realistic manner, but in the next instance, you don't want to hear fuck throughout the book. It's military guys. What do you expect?
Okay.
Go ahead, Nate.
There's certain kind of books that I can listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And this book I'm fine with because this series I'm fine with because I don't mind a little bit of language.
Right.
That's guys being guys.
Yeah.
And it points some stuff out. What really bugs me about the other prepping books is all the freaking sex scenes.
You're not wrong. And that's what turned me off. That turned me off from the zombie rules. It did. Yeah.
I mean, the zombie rules, you got a threesome in it, what, the second book in?
Yeah.
It's
and
like, really?
They're like, anyway, the age is kind of questionable. Let's put it that way. So exactly. You're right. And it has its place. You know, you watch something like Game of Thrones, sex scenes were important to the plot, really. I mean, that was how it worked.
You mean the Tudors mixed with The Walking Dead?
Right. Yes, that's what you're right. I love the Tudor. Yeah, I love the Tudors, but that's what it is. And it's a shame because it got to the point, zombie rules. It got to the point where I stopped listening to zombie rules because I was like, okay.
Make you think you was listening to one of those books like Morgan's wife was reading?
Well, let's put it this way. I like prepper porn for the prepper, not for the porn, right?
Yeah, so exactly. And that's one of the things I like about this series is it's insinuated, but it's not in there.
Right. Yeah. And I'm cool with that. And even a little bit's fine. Right. Like, but I get it. Yeah. And you know, The Walking Dead did it a little bit here and there, but I just fell in love with The Walking Dead. But here's the next one. Not as good as his previous works. It was a little bit anticlimactic. The series should have come to an end already. I'm
wait to the next book.
I'm like, anticlimactic. The entire book was about the climax of the story. Mm-hmm. It was literally the opposite of anticlimactic. Like, anyway, I don't know you sometimes wonder what people actually read, and I don't know. Anyway, so next one. Then that was a 3-star review. While I enjoy the underlying storyline, the book in particular was just too preachy for me. So many rants about liberals and academics, communists and Democrats. I get it. You're a Republican who doesn't trust the government. It was just too much for me this time. So the reason I added that was I will admit there are times, especially in the earlier books, where Chris does get quite preachy. Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, I'm okay with it, but because there's times when he has some real anarchist, open market, free market kind of principles in what he talks about, but then other times he definitely does get a bit preachy. So I had to, you know, I put that in there to say you're not wrong, and it is a bit of a there are times when it becomes an issue, right?
Hey, Tim, just to go back to that other review, you know, that's what they said about the Kama Sutra book too, is it was just really anticlimactic.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We're going to boot John from the live stream now. No, I'm just kidding.
I thought that would have been super climatic.
Yeah, I think it would have been the actual climax of literature, right? So,
as long as you got enough lube.
Oh, boy. All right. So, next one. This is the 7th in the series that I have read. I've really enjoyed every one. Until this one, I was very disappointed to see some of the characters, especially crotchety Sarge, spoke some nasty racist comments. Sad the author included that. People can defend their country without racist comments about their opponents, especially in this context where they had no concrete proof anyone was trying to take over the country.
Oh, because he said commie.
Commie. There was a couple of times where I think they talked about certain people that really enjoyed consuming rice and things like that. But again, do you want realism? Because this is a bunch of fucking military guys sitting around talking.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they don't talk like that?
Wait until the next book.
Are you not talking about communist countries?
Right.
Does that not kind of, if you come from a communist country, does that not qualify you as a commie?
Well, when did commie become to have anything to do with race anyway? There's a lot of different races that are communists.
There were a little bit in this.
From a country.
Remember when Sarge started talking about I wanted to kill some commies, and then the other guys started talking about the Chinese. There were some borderline, racist-ish, but whatever. That's what it was, right? And
the biggest racist thing that I've read in this book or even seen in this book is the guy hanging from the tree.
Right. And that we got really good, and that was absolutely pertinent to the story.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was I hated that it happened, but I'm glad he dealt with it.
Yeah, and it was very nicely written.
Yes.
And it was handled, and that was the end of it. It didn't go on a preachy long, couple here, couple there. Every chapter you hear somebody say something. Because that's
kind of in this review, they're almost implying that Chris himself is racist, or that he using racist terminology makes him racist. But I mean, again, remember the review from 2 or 3 episodes ago where the lady or the person was like, he can't write women. And then we literally point at about 10 strong female characters in the story. And that's kind of like this, okay, if you get your panties in a knot over a couple of these, borderline racist comments, then this probably isn't the series for you.
Yeah, it's reviewers not actually reading the book and just judging what the book is about.
Absolutely.
The only actual racist comment in this one was when the guy from the green pickup truck got caught by Nate killing the pigs.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, yeah, you're the one that found my end.
And that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
That was the only actual racist comment. Yeah. Other than that, he was talking about people, speaking of Sarge, he was talking about people that are literally from communist countries. Mm-hmm. That does not make it a racist comment. That makes it a political comment.
Let me throw this out here. How much longer do you think it'll be until audiobook narrators aren't allowed to read that word out loud anymore?
They can do it now.
Well, I don't know. But when Duke Fontaine did this, he obviously read it. I don't know. It's just a matter of time till that shit happens, I'm sure.
I bet you money you can't say it on YouTube. You get demonetized.
Oh, I'm sure you're right. Demonetized or worse, probably. So,
Rachel, you're forgetting, and you're talking about it being a political statement, not a racist statement. Think about the way the politicians and the political people talk anymore. If you're against them, you're racist. So it's the same thing.
That's a good point.
Okay, I am not talking about any political or anything like that. I'm talking about rational, reasonable, because I am talking with you 3 guys.
That's correct. Yeah.
Through the rest of the world.
Jason says if Chris was racist, Thad wouldn't be as prominent as he is in the book.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
100%. In fact,
would he be a hero?
Yes. He said, in fact, Thad would have bought it in the first book like every other Hollywood movie where black people are the first to die in the films. 100%. I agree with you. Yeah. It happens all the time, and it's sad.
And Thad is not just a hero in this book series. He is their uncle. He is a family member. He is a loved and cherished person. And even though Mary sold out her friends out of fear, she is still loved and she is still cherished. Irregardless of everything that she did, that would have, quite honestly, Nate and I full out agreed she needs to go.
Yeah.
Because of her betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, wait a minute. Are you assuming her race there, Rachel?
They do say
no,
it in the
it was
book.
actually stated, but
yeah, you know. I didn't remember it saying that.
Yep,
oh yeah.
I think it was early on when the girls were working in the camp, right? Yeah. Because
when she was first introduced.
Yeah, she talks about, she makes jokes about being from the hood or whatever, but she actually came from like an affluent family or something. Remember?
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't believe I remembered that, but anyway.
Yeah, I didn't.
And Hunter says I would have left Mary behind. So yeah, I get it. She pissed us all off a little bit.
Nate and I were totally good with like offing her in the first place.
Yeah. If it wasn't for Thad, Leanne would have put a bullet in her head. That's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely. So we've been an hour and 40, guys. What do we? I always love to do this at the tail end, but since John and Rachel both haven't read past this, let's start with John this time. John, where do you see the series going in book 8?
Well, I tell you, I've been trying to picture that a lot. I'm because all the talk about the Russians and the Chinese. I'm wondering how much is that going to play into it, and how much could it play into what the storyline's built up to so far. So I don't know. I really honestly I can't wait to get to listening to the next one, because my mind's just, I can't even really start to draw any conclusions. I'm afraid I'm going to ruin it for myself, I guess. I don't know.
Hunter says it ended too quietly. It's going to have to be big. And you're right. It reminded me of quite often when, let's put it this way, when certain shows aren't sure if they're going to get a season 2 or not, and so they tie it up with a happy ever after, but there's storm clouds on the horizon. He did a really good job with that.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think, Rachel?
Oh, I don't know. It could go either way. I mean, number 8 could be the next book that's just building suspension. No, that's not the proper word. Building suspense. Sorry.
Yes,
we're not talking about vehicles here with the suspension. We're talking about building suspense. And it could also go in, holy shit, there was bombs dropped somewhere. It could go far off in either direction. I'm kind of thinking that Ian and Jamie are going to end up hooking up.
Possible.
And maybe Jess will start to show a little bit more of an interest in one of the guys. They were saying that
Ronnie. They're kind of pushing it towards Ronnie.
Which one's Ronnie?
They're trying to push it towards him, but they said Mike was the good-looking guy. He was the mature one. So if you could
no. They said that Mike was the good-looking one and Ted was the mature one.
Oh, okay.
But then they were kind of pushing her towards Doc. So
does that make him the cross between the two?
So we've got 3 more books until what was the original ending, or the second original ending, the ending that all of us kind of ended on for a long time. So I'm not going to spoil anything, but it wouldn't be 3 books if we didn't lose one more semi-large character in the series. So I would like a prediction from both Rachel and John that if one semi-main character dies in the next 3 books, who do you think it might be?
Danny.
How about you, John?
I don't know. I'll go wild and say Mike.
Okay.
Because he's always doing crazy crap, getting into crap and taking chances. And
yeah, I don't remember which book it's in, but we do lose one person, and I'm not gonna spoil any more than that.
I don't remember which one it is either.
Yeah, I like that. And then book 11, when book 11 comes back, we lose somebody else. So it's kind of sad, but we won't ruin it. I haven't
even read book. I haven't listened to book 11 yet. So.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, okay. I got to go back and listen to it again. It's been Jesus. Book 12 should have been out by now, but there's not even a pre-release date on Amazon that I can see. So Hunter says, and then the shit storm starts because you don't mess with Doc. Jason says, pick me. Yeah. Jason, if you ever want to come on here, Jason, you know a lot about the show. You can come on anytime.
Jump on, man.
We have a special. If you're on Telegram, we have a special, I think there's 28 members or something, book club. Remember, and that's where I post the live link. So you're welcome to come on anytime you want. I'd love that. So, like I said, let's go around and wrap us up. I guess, well, really, Nate's the only one that Rachel, we can find you where?
Here.
Yeah.
I'm on like 5 groups on Telegram.
And we always appreciate you. Because one thing Rachel never is sarcastic. She's never sarcastic. She's never a smart ass. She never likes
threatening
to offend people or
sarcastic.
Yeah, never.
Belligerent.
She's a good addition to the to the community for sure. And how about you, John? Where do we find you usually?
Just the same. I'm just on Telegram on several groups. I'm several of the groups that she's in, unfortunately, I think. But...
I know.
Oh, shut up.
But the reason I mention that is because, hey, if you're listening to this and you're not part of the Telegram group, I plug it all the time. We get slow, steady growth, but it's a great community where, the conversation, you don't get, I don't think you get lost in the conversation yet. I hope we never get to that largeness. We'll have to maybe start a, what's the other app that everybody uses where you, Discord. Yeah, we might have to go over there or something.
I've never even looked at Discord or Signal, either one. So
Discord's nice.
It works good. Eventually, when you need to separate conversations into different kind of segments, but yeah. And how about you, Nate?
You guys don't have to look at ham radio stuff.
That's true. You can just completely ignore it, and you can even like pick ham and say, anytime somebody types out ham, you can just bleep it right out, right?
Exactly.
So, how about you? One half of
our drinking games.
Well, we'll always have to listen to Nate talk about ham. It just happens.
Yeah. I'm the bearded lady from twochickshomestead.com. You can find us. We do a weekly podcast. My wife and I kind of hang out. You can get us on Telegram, t.me. I think it's Two Chicks Homestead podcast, maybe. I'll have to look at the link. Or you can find me in Tim's or the book club or Facebook or wherever. So,
yeah, and don't worry. We'll always hook you up with Nate and Aaron. If anybody asks, we'll send you in the wrong direction 2 or 3 times, and then we'll send you in the right one. So,
just don't do like Josh did and send somebody a porn link.
Oh my! Oh, looks like John's off the road now. Look at this.
Yeah, I got home, got my groceries put up.
Nice.
Been sitting here eating dinner. That's why I keep muting my mic so y'all don't have to listen to me.
That's all right. It was good to have you. That's a good crew. I like the 4 of us. We bounce off each other really well. So
John's still a dick. He keeps calling.
Well, that's okay.
Hey, if that was the worst name I'd ever been called, I don't know what I'd do with myself.
Well, folks, this has been another episode of the Post-Apocalyptic Book Club, done and dusted. This was a good one, guys. Yeah. We're heading into book 8. We're on the downward slope, and pretty soon we're going to have to figure out what series we're going to do next. So it'll be, I guess, we're probably going to do the first Thursday of the month for a while. That Thursday seemed to work well. We get a better crowd, don't we, Nate?
Yeah, seems to be.
Yeah.
So the problem is that would be Groundhog Day, wouldn't it?
Oh, it might be. Yeah, that's my favorite holiday for some weird reason.
February 2nd.
Let me see. What's the first Thursday of? Yeah, it is Groundhog Day. So that means we'd have to do the episode 2 days in a row, doesn't it?
Yeah,
multiple days in a row.
Or we can do the Groundhog Day watch party.
Yes, and then we'll do this the week after,
and then do this Friday.
Yeah, or Saturday even, or whatever. Yeah, that'd be great. We'll make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so our next watch party is going to be the Groundhog Day. So for those of you out there that haven't joined us for a workshop watch party, we had a lot of fun at Christmas watching Chevy Chase break his hand, so. But with that, guys, we're going to call it quits for the evening. So as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.